You're so literal sometimes.
I am.
All the time.
Welcome to
Gosh.
All the Way Right.
The time.
All
This
the
is what
way
I deal
right.
with, Mark.
All right, so are the microphones recording?
Are we live?
We're here. Welcome, everybody.
do
Welcome.
Welcome to the Real Estate Addicts Podcast. We're here with your hosts, Mark Savatsky, Choose Boston,
Dan Rubin, RH Investment Group.
Ray Herto, same company.
and joining us today is our guest.
Caleb Wursten here with Goodstander.
Excellent. Is that microphone okay?
I think so. Yeah,
you're
I
awesome,
think
man.
so.
Maybe angle it up a tiny bit.
Perfect.
Well, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the union. Caleb is our newest member over at the U.
Beautiful.
The U? Oh, now it's the U?
And tell us what you were telling us earlier about when you were looking for a office in Boston. How did you find the union?
Yeah, so in the Claude code browser, I was like, where should the founder of Goodstander.com work out of in Boston? And the number one hit was the union.
I'm doing something right. There's search
Yeah.
engine optimization, and now there's like AI optimization. Like it's a whole new field. So I'm glad we're doing something right.
Yeah, I was asking if you have yourself all over Reddit. Like I heard that's a thing now. You just create your own Reddit posts and say best co-working space in Boston.
Shout out to Sham Shukla, who's my partner in the business, and he does all the technology stuff. So like this is happening. I don't really understand it, but funny story is Sham had Manis write an email for him recently, and it signed it. His name is Sham Shukla. It signed it Sham Patel. Just because like it's like a little racist. Like it just has to guess what the next word is. You know, that's basically how LLMs work, is
Very
predictive. And so we put Patel after Sham just because.
Because Patel is the Smith
Yeah,
of...
I can't.
You'd think that he's used it enough where it kind of knows him by now.
You would, but I guess I don't know. Well, let's get back to Caleb here. So
So that was an unpaid, unsolicited event. That's the real deal, how you found the union.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
so today, first day in Boston, moving out from the Berkshires, first day at the union. Within 30 minutes of being at the union, an insurance broker invites me into his team meeting where I meet his team, and they want to learn about the company. So immediate sort of value being delivered. This is totally unprompted, by the way. I just met Mark a few minutes ago.
it's kind of true.
Yeah.
Anyone could be a guest, folks. Anyone could be a guest.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Straight.
I had
True
this
story.
following-
Caleb and I were having a coffee, and I was like, wait, just save this. We're doing a podcast in 25 minutes. This is really interesting. So I texted these guys.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, and I've been following Mark on LinkedIn for I think over a year.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and then
We didn't say you liked it with your
Yeah.
follow. Read. It is actually good though. But yeah, and then a couple hours later, we're having this conversation, and
Wild.
now it's 1:30, 2 o'clock. Day one.
Hell yeah.
Welcome to Boston.
Yeah.
Well,
Typical experience
So
here.
how long
And
were you
about
out at the
hot-
Berkshires for?
I was there for a year and a half.
Okay.
So prior to that, I was working on Nantucket, and I was doing affordable housing. They're trying to solve the housing crisis on the island. And
How do you do affordable housing on the
I
entire?
know it's kind of the canary in the coal mine of what the housing crisis is going to look like. A brief aside, but it's employee housing, and we call it the Nantucket Shuffle, where you're living in a benefactor's spare bedroom for a few months and then sort of moving along.
Huh.
But anyway, yeah, I moved out to the Berkshires to redevelop North Adams, which is one of sort of the original American Rust Belt towns. It was challenged after textiles moved, and then electric manufacturing left.
Interesting.
Yes.
So
So
you got to tighten it. It's gonna.
so
throw you off.
All good. All right.
so
So
yeah,
textiles, Rust Belt City. You're in North Adams after
It's like
having-
what, an hour and a half outside Boston?
yeah, 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So has it kind of give us a little history on, you said Rust Belt, but like, is it up and coming? Has it started to get redeveloped? Is it like prime Berkshires? Are you
trendy.
Airbnb-ing? Like, what's the deal with North Adams?
Yeah, so I went on a road trip throughout New England looking for a market because I had some capital to work with, and I wanted to find the place that I thought was going to most rapidly appreciate. And I was up in Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and I went all in on North Adams because it has two things going for it. It's a cash flow Ohio style market with 9, 10, 11 caps, which is impossible to find elsewhere in Massachusetts.
Doesn't exist.
Maybe like Springfield and Holyoke and like the bottom of the barrel type cities.
Yeah. So you can buy cash flowing buildings, and then it also has the appreciation story, which is it's 10 minutes from Williams College, which is one of the top universities in the country. The Williamstown, which is a 10-minute drive away, has doubled the property values, and their faculty are priced out of the town. So they're now buying properties in North Adams. And so you have both and you can also look at the data, but you're seeing that rapid appreciation in recent years in North Adams. So it's both a priced value with the appreciation story.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
So are you buying primarily multifamily?
I'm just going to go look at some real estate in North Adams.
Single family, multifamily, both Airbnb.
Well, I mean, we had Willie on, and he's doing Airbnb.
I don't know.
But it was a second home that he bought that he's also using as a rental.
But I don't know where in the Berkshires, but yes.
Yeah. Regardless, I love the thesis. I think it's super interesting. I go to Tourist Welcome a lot. They should sponsor us. We should pitch them because I've mentioned it's like a super cool, like Howard Johnson updated and now rents to suckers like me for like $800 a night.
It's like what they did with like the Verb
the Verb in Fenway.
Yeah.
They
have a couple.
That was a hojo.
It was?
Yeah.
It was. And now it's all trendy and they have Airstreams and DJs.
Sushi restaurant. Yeah. So
your thesis is affordable housing though. So what's your play there?
No, short-term housing, no?
Oh, short-term. Workforce.
I've had different lives in real estate. So yeah, the affordable housing, I write about affordable housing and I'm sort of involved a little bit in that area, but this was traditional. Yeah.
Got it.
But this was traditional real estate investing and development. So one of the buildings is all short-term rental. So it was vacant. There was one tenant, found them a new apartment, and then the entire 3 units are short-term rental. The most recent building I did is a 4-unit long-term rental purchased, added a bunch of value, and then released most of the building.
Cool. Short-term rental as Airbnb, Vrbo, that type of thing?
Yeah, the 3-unit building is all short-term, and then the 4 units long-term.
Have you ever done short-term rental before?
That was my first. I mean, I self-manage it. I still manage it now and respond to messages, giving more cash to the main cleaner and my girlfriend to kind of like offload that as I build this tech company. Yeah.
What do you like, short-term or long-term better? Since you have both kind of in the same town.
Well, it's very contextual. I think in North Adams, short term because of the long-term tenant the risks that come with this long-term tenant population.
Got it.
Maybe similar to like a New Bedford, where they're just elevated eviction rates, there are elevated tenant problems that you're dealing with in this market.
It's a good transition here. So this is where our conversation went next. Just the idea that Massachusetts is a fairly hostile environment politically, in terms of like the new laws, for landlords and tenants. And so you're sort of working on a solution to that overarching problem.
Yeah, so I was happily redeveloping North Adams, and I was like, this is my career now. I'm going to accumulate, these buildings and then bring outside investment from Boston to North Adams and manage the properties. And then I started having tenant issues. I'm going through an eviction now. I just signed an affidavit for serving, a notice. And I realized that there's such a large surface area of risk as a landlord in Massachusetts. I'm sure many people, here and in the audience can relate to that. And I realized that my tenants knew the game better than I did. They're getting free legal aid. They're now using AI to identify all of the loopholes. And so landlords in Massachusetts are now getting hit on on both ends. The state is becoming more restrictive with security deposits and all sorts of tenants' rights. We just narrowly avoided this imminent rent control. And tenants are getting more educated and more weaponized. with access to AI. And it was I was losing sleep over this eviction and it's sort of identifying all of the areas where I was exposed. And so that's why I started building Goodstander.
Is it a simple like non-payment issue, or is it some other kind of situation, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, the one is non-payment. And then there's another which is not in a formal dispute, but a very informed tenant strategically submits building department complaints to set themselves up for retaliation protection.
Can I give you a piece of advice?
Yes, please.
Respond to every one of those and be super open, overly communicative, and transparent. Not as any kind of way to like one up the tenant, but just to show that you're not some person that's not going to respond. Because I've had issues where the tenants will say, oh, you've got this issue in the building and I'm going to talk to the health department. I'm like, great, let's talk to the health department together. Like, let's see if there's an actual issue. Because sometimes they kind of overblow the situation to sort of do what you're saying. And I'm not implying that good people do that, but sometimes that happens, and it's a way to mitigate it. And I completely agree with you. So you found out that, apparently, according to Ayanna Presley, though, there's too many. There's not enough tenant protections. Tenants here are being thrown out on the street overnight. That's not necessarily the case, is it?
No, not at all. And what you just said is something all of the landlords in Massachusetts need to hear. And that's what we're integrating into Goodstander. It's reviewing all of your messages before you send it. It is flagging risks from messages and maintenance requests coming in from the tenants. And I've talked to tenants about the platform too. And at first they're hesitant because it's giving legal aid to landlords, but it's actually great for tenants because it is nudging landlords to do the right thing, to get the heat on in 24 hours, to fix the water leak, because all of these things do create the risk of counterclaims down the line.
So is it a forgive me, I haven't looked at the tool, but is it like property management meets AI meets legal? Like how would you define the tool in terms of where it belongs kind of in a landlord's
tech stack,
I guess.
Yeah. It is property. It's a property management system. I call it a landlord operating system. So it is a property management platform that it integrates legal guidance into the daily operations. And so, for example, we have a risk radar, which is scanning your entire portfolio, including the messages and maintenance, and flagging the highest risk items that you need to deal with. We're creating the leases, the notices to quit, the court report. So if there is an issue, you create the court report, and that's doing the 10 hours of discovery that your real estate attorney would be doing. So you've now just saved 10 hours of legal hours because it has accumulated all of the relevant text, video clips. We're integrating Blink cameras. So it's a extremely comprehensive report. You just hand your lawyer and now you're ready to go with the eviction.
So what I like about that is my challenge often with any dispute is like, if you knew where this was going to go, you would be so much more prepared once you got there. But these things never just automatically like, hey, in 6 months, I'm going to take this action, file this complaint, and that leads to this. And then I have to go back through hundreds and thousands of emails over the course of months or even years and reassemble that whole case. That's true of change orders. That's true of tenant disputes.
So is that what it does? It kind of
it's essentially building a case file in real time.
Everything, like all communications,
everything
between tenant and landlord in one platform, and then if you have issues, you can easily export everything.
Exactly. It's as if you had a Massachusetts real estate lawyer sitting next to you, looking at every single thing you have ever done with a tenant, with a building, with a unit, and at a click, giving you the report that you need based on the issue. If it's non-payment, if it's non-renewal, any issue that's happening, it is coordinating the data set to the use case.
Can I ask you kind of a
Sure.
I don't know. I don't want to ask like weird questions, but
Go weird. Come on, let's go.
not weird, but I don't want to like try to like
No,
attack tool. But
Go for it.
if
yeah.
it's, are you nervous that you're giving legal advice to landlords and it's not, that's like you're not an attorney, and if something happens, then a landlord could sue you?
This is something that we're thinking a lot about, and we're talking to a lot of Massachusetts real estate attorneys about this. I'm running it only on my units until we have definitive, until we feel really confident that we're not legally exposed. So yeah, for sure, before we let other property managers and landlords use the tool, we're going to confidently, have protection for ourselves.
I would imagine you'll have obviously terms of service, disclaimers, that sort of
For
thing.
sure.
Like,
A lot of
hey,
asterisks.
before you just send this to the court, maybe have your attorney look at it, but you're still saving the prep hours, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
That sort of thing. I want to dial in on one thing that you said, and correct me if I didn't hear it right. It will also review messages before you send it to make sure you don't say something that not potentially could harm you, but that may not be in the fairest light in terms of the intent. So it's going to review messages before an email or a text or something before you send it, and maybe flag a keyword or something like that.
Yeah. So in the composer, so there's messaging in the platform like iMessage. And as you're typing, the model is running what you're typing against every local, state, and federal law relevant to landlords. And it's giving you an indication, looks good, high risk, here's the law that this potentially violates, here's the issue with what you just said. And so that we feel pretty good about in terms of legal risk. There's a feature which we that is higher risk for us, which is the suggested reply, where the landlord clicks the button and it types out what should be said, because then it's, we're trying to figure out, is that the company Goodstander saying that? So we don't know if we're going to go live with a suggested reply button, but we like the review of what the landlord is typing.
That's
Nice.
interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it's just, to Mark's point, it's tough because when you're having, essentially these are relationships, right? Every tenant, every resident, it's a relationship, and you want to put your best foot forward. And sometimes it can bite you in the ass if you're like, oh, I'll take a look at this thing, or yeah, I know that's an issue. And not even if it's intended to go that way or whatnot. But I do find it very, very interesting. And I will give you an example of something where I had to I did use AI on my end to just make sure I was covering my ass. I was returning security deposits. We had some people move out, so end of the month's always busy, and we're processing invoices and this, that, and the other thing. And it's funny, the MAR, Massachusetts Association of Realtor, standard lease says you can, if you hire an attorney or pay an attorney to enforce any part of the lease, that is something that you can charge and deduct. Whereas Massachusetts security deposit law says absolutely not. There's only 3 things you can deduct. So I find it interesting that a standard boilerplate legal document put out by an association of realtors conflicts with Massachusetts security deposit law, but it did save me from an erroneous deduction.
What are the 3 things you can deduct?
Obviously damages, any back rent, and I forget the third, but it's like it's this, or this, and that's it.
I hear you on that concern. I think that is something interesting to balance too, is like the way that you communicate with your tenants, because you will get a bad apple who's going to try to take advantage of a situation, but some people may be on the line of like, they can be great tenants or you can push them to a place, and they might respond to how you communicate. So if the stuff you're sending is fairly legalese sounding and like almost offensive in posture, then maybe they feel like they need to also act the same in kind. And I don't know, that's sort of a dynamic that I try to avoid.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like you don't want every communication to be like a formal letter.
Right.
Yeah. I'm very casual with communication and try to be friendly, in that regard. And 99% of the time it's fine, but it's that 1% that will chew up like 99% of your time. So,
I mean, I'm sure there's a dial that you can use. Say like, make this affable and friendly, but also keep me protected from saying stupid things. Like your tool, as you were explaining it, I was thinking about my brokerage too, and how much I'd like to have my agents, especially who do rental listings. Like, you just know you're getting set up sometimes. These texts come in. It's like, hi, I'm elderly in a wheelchair, and I have a newborn baby on the way. Is this unit available? I'm on Section 8 and look forward to your reply. And you're just like, holy shit. Like, anything I say.
and the ESA and the 14 reasonable accommodations.
Yeah. So, like, you can't not reply either. That's also like.
Yeah, you got to be very careful.
Yeah. So anyway, if you have one for a brokerage, a spinoff, I'm interested.
Are you developing this yourself, or is your background in tech? What's your background in?
Yeah, I come from a real estate and tech background. I've done tech startups. I've done other real estate tech startups. And so I'm doing a lot of the development myself. I have a senior engineer that's reviewing the code. You can also build Claude agents to, on a loop, review your code for bugs. So you can do a lot of the quality control yourself, and you don't have to be technical. I mean, I took one coding class in college and then just, taught myself very basic things. But it's really unnecessary now. And I think it's to be seen how exactly CTOs fit into startups. I'm kind of negotiating that now, definitely as an advisor with advisor level equity, but we're kind of figuring out if a co-founder level is still necessary as a CTO. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm doing most of the programming myself with Claude, with reviews from Claude and from a senior engineer. And similar with the legal too, working with Claude for the legal and then having that reviewed. And that's been, for the pilot, sufficient. And then sort of when we roll out, that's when we need sort of this bigger stamps of approval from a Massachusetts law firm standing behind it, and either a full CTO or, additional testing.
Makes sense.
Awesome.
Seems cool.
Dude, well, do you guys mind if I give a quick shout out to our sponsor here?
Not at all.
All right. Let's thank them very much. Yeah, let's go.
Our official sponsor, DrewTex Windows. Let me start this gank. Now,
you botched.
Where's that?
I'm just a deer in the headlights. All right, redo. Listen, I think as far as performance and durability and value, DrewTex Windows, I like to say we're not just paid spokesmen, we're also customers and clients. And between the three of us, we've installed DrewTex Windows, European tilt and turn, a very high performing Windows in over 200 units around Massachusetts. And, look forward to working with them on the next one and the one after that. So if you'd like to get in touch, shoot us a DM. Or visit their website.
And we'll also put a link in the show notes as well.
Thanks. Absolutely. Caleb, any other thoughts here? Ways folks can get in touch with you?
Learn more about the tool.
Yeah.
Is there a release date anticipated?
Oh, yeah.
We have a live demo in landing page at goodstander.com.
Okay.
Goodstander, like good standing, but ER. And feel free to reach out to me at caleb@goodstander.com.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Caleb, for joining us. And
thanks for doing something that can potentially add tons of value for operators and housing providers. So appreciate it.
Sure.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, reviewing, rating, subscribing, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
See ya.
Cheers.
Later.